Hi, WFMers out there. I'm your host, Irina and this is WFM Unfiltered, a podcast by Right WFM, the place where we share the truth about workforce management. So get comfortable and listen closely. Hi, everyone. Welcome to WFM Unfiltered. Today, we're going to a lot of places. First of all, we're going to be going to Toronto, but maybe coming from Macedonia through Serbia, through Bulgaria, and finally ending up with Canada. But we're having a great guest, one that have achieved so much, and I cannot wait to speak with. So, Nena, take me away on your journey.
Thank you. I'm so happy that I'm here. I'm very stressed and nervous and excited at the same time. I was born in Macedonia. I lived and I was raised in a Yugoslavia country. 1991, it separated. Finished my school there. That was 2007 with a degree in finance and financial analysis. Had some tough and rough start of my career there, I would say, but I learned a lot of what I should not do and what I should actually stick to, which is now what is defining me in the current kind of scenario where I am, which is like 11 years ago, I came to live in Canada, in GTA, Toronto area, and currently working for one of the largest North American banks, TD Bank. Love my badge. Thank you for the food. And yeah, I'm working. I started 11 years ago. I started my career basically from the bottom. I have one of the vice presidents here that I kind of very much appreciate, and I love his brain. He cares. He's always usually having that shirt saying "started from the bottom." So I actually started from the bottom. Started from a contact center. Was taking calls for business in the business area, was growing in the contact center at that time in Rogers Communications, was growing in several roles, ended up in like escalations, retentions, business management office. And something was missing. Something was, how do I say, my brain was not fully occupied. My brain was like eager to be, more like absorbed. And I was like kind of thinking of like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And one day walking through the workforce area, I saw the command center. And in Rogers, that was like a super big show of TVs and more like CIA, FBI command center with like 10 to 12 analysts sitting at the desk coordinating about 6,000, agents. And I was like, this is exciting. I want to learn here, right? And what I've done is something that would be probably interesting for everybody to try. I was going on the calls, taking calls, and then free time volunteering in the night shift for workforce. I said, I was just going to come and sit with you and do some stuff for you because we were one company, the same company. So about like 2 or 3 months later, a job opening shows up and I was like, I'm ready. Well, I've been there for like 2-3 months. And I had the most amazing interview with my, at that time, hiring manager, who actually gave me a laptop and said, analyze this data. And I was like, analyze what? Like, what the hell are you talking about? And in the moment where I wanted to start talking, he turned off the lights on me. So my reaction was like, what the F? And he turned on the light saying, you passed the test, because he was like, I need somebody in the command center who understands what is, crisis, reacts to not normal stuff and has the natural reaction of like, what the F is that, right? And takes action after that to address, or, you're not lethargic to kind of move on. So that was an amazing interview that opened my mind of like, oh my God, I'm going in an area where I will have to think on dozen, like 30 things at the same time. So started my career in command center in Rogers, been there for about 3 years, expanded in the second half of that portion. I expanded more in short-term planning, which is like weekly planning and whatnot, and a little bit more of like vendor management. And then got the opportunity to come and work for one of the largest banks in North America as a long-term forecaster. I took on a heavy bite, which was US markets. And oh, what a ride I had there. The best years of my career. I had it in the US contact center for TD Bank with such an amazing leadership and, people that will hear any crazy idea and creative idea. And I was hungry and I was full of ideas kind of thing. And I will tell you more about that experience. And then after the forecasting, where I had such a great success, I went to my original new hire that turned off the lights for me. And by the way, this is something that is really common in North America. You have like mentors, and they're more like your friends, but mentors, and doesn't need to be higher on the ladder than you, but kind of like your network area where you're safe to mentor and to basically tell them anything and everything. And anyways, long story short, I went to him and I said, like, how do I climb up if my base is small? How do I tackle that pyramid, right? And he's like, well, you just said it. If you want to climb up, you got to increase your base, right? I was like, shit, fuck, I didn't want to hear that. But I was like, okay, well, challenge accepted. I always love a challenge. So I was like, challenge accepted. So I kind of expanded my mandate into workforce, but more of a customer experience side. So LEI, NPS, JD Power, Ipsos, more of a benchmarking. What does it mean to have like good customer experience? What does customer experience actually mean, right? In that sense. And I was there for about a year and a half. I had tremendous, like super, super nice experience with amazing boss at that time. I continued on expanding. So next I expanded into the area of workforce again, but more of a cost efficiency productivity, where I learned, here's a interesting idea for the audience, where I learned that well, I should not probably see the right numbers, but very, very tiny portion of my customer base was creating 1/4 of my annual expenses. When you deep dive into it, you have like customers calling and say, "What's my account? Well, what's my balance?" And then hangs up, and then calls 5 minutes later. "What's my balance?" And hangs up, and then 5 minutes. So I've learned into the area where you have to also absorb different customer behavior that sometimes it's not appropriate, but it's, people have some disabilities, mental, physical, whatever. So you kind of have to observe. So I learn and grow in the area of like, what is your bending business moment to understand what I can change and what I have to accept, right? And lastly, about 9 months ago, I got the most interesting role that I have right now, which is workforce product owner for entire North America. I own the platforms for workforce. I'm not going to mention names just so I can be more generic. But I host the productivity platform, the WFM platform, everything that goes with it, the long-term forecasting platform, some internal stuff as well, recording platforms and so forth. So those kind of, in a nutshell, where I am currently working on my quarterly Q4 planning.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself. I find myself unexpectedly very emotional and kind of tearing up. So we'll see. We might end up having to. Oh, sorry. I think we might have to edit this part out because you mentioned something that I don't know. It resonates so much for me, and I see it every day with different people, like starting from the bottom. And I think you can also appreciate, like, for people coming from Eastern Europe, sometimes it's so much more difficult to break into like bigger organizations, especially in Western Europe. So when I hear about that journey, it's like, yeah, you don't have the same opinion.
You're right. And it's emotional journey. I agree. And trust me, I come from similar area that you come from, and we are emotional, and we kind of, and I know sometimes to kind of sit down and have a moment of like, what the hell just happened for the past 11 years, right? But I must say that one thing is that you're gonna get a chance to get somewhere, right?
Mhm.
That's one thing. You get a chance, somebody puts some trust in you, you go and you do. That's one thing. The second thing is us as Eastern Europeans to flex. to the Western behavior and to the behavior of like, what does mentorship actually mean? What does it mean when you talk to a higher up, right? What does it mean to bring a flavor that is different, but yet acceptable? Here, I'm going to tell you an example. And by the way, I've gone through a lot of experiences where people from this side of the world says, "You're insane what you just said. You are I would never say that."
Yeah.
I go on a call. I go on a call. On the call, I have the head of US, I have the CFO, and my boss. And I'm about to get ripped for, like some discrepancy in the finances. But one thing that is for all our Eastern Europeans, and by the way, there's a study, I'll tell you about the study later.
Mhm.
But the Eastern Europeans, we are so detailed oriented that even if they ask us something of like, "Oh, I'm going to catch you now," I think the school system was back then that way. It's like the teacher wanted to catch you and put a one for you just so you can fail. And we are
Yeah.
always ready to answer everything, right? And I get on a call, and politically in this environment, I can't say what's changed. I can be an analyst of like, you know what changed? I have to be up. And so I said, everything is fine with the finances. By end of the year, you will end up in a X environment financially. And if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna fire myself in front of all of your employees. And my boss is like, "Are you insane?" I was like, "I'm gonna fire myself in September if the finances are not there in front of everybody. I'll just quit." The interesting part was that the other side said, "Deal." That's your journey. You put a commitment for yourself. You put a target for yourself rather than chasing your boss's targets. You put something for yourself to chase, right? And I hit it well. It was well, so I'm still employed. In a way, at some point, spiny and strong, and have those kind of courage to say, well, sure, it's on me. If something happens, US fails, it's on me, right? And yeah, at the end of the day, again, great experience on that side, but a lot of learning to learn how to speak with these guys here, to learn what it means to take ownership, to learn how you can still bring that super flavor from Eastern Europe, but at the same time remove some of the triggers and bad experiences we've gone through back home, and we know what we've gone through, and put it on the side as like a learned, and I am outside rather than reliving, the same moment again.
Thank you for sharing this journey. And I would say that on daily basis, I'm receiving messages from people, not only from Eastern Europe, from Asia, like India, Philippines, and what have you. And people are saying, okay, but how can I break through? Like, what can I do? And I think you summed it up great that sometimes we're putting the barrier for ourselves. We are thinking, well, we can't do it because let's say whether we're talking about Western Europe, US, we are somehow summarizing
Yeah.
it as unachievable and it is the peak. And who are we to dream big, right?
Who
So
are we to dream big is the right question.
yeah. And I know that many people probably are not going to relate, but probably even more are going to resonate with this message that you should aim big and dream big. And we're all people. And if you have the skills, you have the knowledge, you have the passion, pursue it. Like my best friends are now from Britain, and when I started my journey, I was thinking, oh, you know what? British people hate Bulgarians because on the news here we were constantly being told they hate us, they want us out, and I
Exactly.
want to speak with the UK guys because I was like, they're gonna hate me. That's what I've been told, and now you see that some of the things that we put in our heads as bias, it's not how it is in reality. So thank you so much for sharing that journey. And I know that you have put some topics for me that you wanted to discuss, but
Yeah.
I wanna take you to this journey. How can we become successful? Like starting from the bottom, where is the end? Where is the top?
I want to say this publicly, and I want it to be recorded because it's something that I've personally lived through, right? Not sure if everybody in a lifetime will have similar experience. We usually think that we are unique and only this happens to me, but it's actually we are similar journeys, and we go through the life with like similar opportunities and similar challenges, right? I think it was 2011 or 12, where I was like projecting. I was like, my mind has so much to offer, and there is no place to give this. And I was projecting, and I was basically walking through the Google Maps because I applied for the documents, and I was just waiting for like 40 years. But I was walking through the streets of Toronto, and I was like dreaming alone by myself. I was like currently, and I can show you. I work. I've shown you, but I work in one of the largest financial centers. But I was dreaming to be there. I was not asking God or whatever, but my butterflies in myself, they were awakened from the dream of like, I want to be there one day. When it happened, I almost cried. I was like, I can't. So I went back to my wife. I was like, yo, remember when I told you I was dreaming about that? I actually got the job. So similarly, I did not stop dreaming. When I was in the contact center, I was dreaming to make something different. So what I've done is I took the time, and simultaneously I learned a lot of Excel. And I can tell you, it's not the Excel from Eastern Europe. A lot of Excel, like coding, a lot of automated tools and stuff. And I spent that time, and then I built some tools for certain areas of that business, which I'm sure they're still using it. But I take the gratification of like, I dreamt for like, I was dreaming for a task. I was dreaming to work when I was arriving into the west side of that location, because it had like 4 sides. I was arriving from the west side. The entire plateau of the business was like first floor. And then there was one staircase. And underneath would say something like, you are the soul break in life is your own brain and your own thoughts, kind of thing. And then underneath would like Wayne Gretzky saying, you'll miss all the shots that you don't take. And I was like, one day I want to go on the staircase, and that's the big bosses there, right? And basically like a couple of months before I left that organization, I was being called upstairs. So I'm walking the staircase. I was like, what is happening, right? Your dream is coming, right? But what I'm trying to say is like, put a goal for yourself that is unbelievable. Similar to Jim Carrey, like write yourself a check of $10 million. Put yourself a goal that is unbelievable. Even though you're in Eastern Europe or you're somewhere else, you're in the UK, you're in Asia, doesn't matter. Find the butterflies. Where the butterflies are, that's your life. It doesn't matter when they ask you, oh, what do you want to do when you grow up? It doesn't matter. Find your butterflies. If your butterfly starts flying for that thing, for workforce, for finance, for driving be a racer, whatever the case might be, follow the butterflies, right? And then 2019, I met a person in that organization, and I said, so he's like, oh, like, like those kind of a men talk of like, oh, you're the big boss now. And I was like, in 12 years, I'm going to be a vice president. And then everybody started laughing. It's a crazy goal. It's insane goal. And I acknowledge it's insane goal. But even right now, saying it to you, my butterflies still are there. It's going to happen today? No. Maybe in 10 years? Sure. We'll see. Maybe in 20. I'm getting there. That's my journey. That's my butterflies, right? And specifically in the area of workforce. Now, when you see your journey, it's never linear. That's why set up a goal that is far away, but you got to go zigzag. You got to go towards that goal, but you got to go and collect knowledge on the way. This is very interesting because nobody can become a director like Back home, they became like back home in Macedonia, you have like directors that is like first time experience. They've never worked before.
Yeah.
First time experience direct. Like here in this society, you have to have a large base, right? Because when you go up, you have to manage such a large structure. My company has 100,000 employees. It's such a massive structure. It's unbelievable. Like if somebody listens to me from Macedonia, they will be like, that's a 3 cities, right? But here it's normal. A lot of people, a lot of big structure. And if you want to go up, you gotta know a lot, right? From the foundation. So don't aim the next step. Don't aim the next step. Set yourself a goal. And I say this is just set yourself like, how do I see Nenad the day of retirement? What would make me happy to sign the retirement papers and say I did it? And yeah, that's the goal. That's the butterflies. That's my way. Again, it's not probably not the right way, but this is the way I follow, and it's been serving me well.
I think this is exactly the right way, because what I really like in your explanations, and especially if I bring you back to the operational part of going during the late shifts and sitting next to the WFM team, is create opportunities. And I think that a lot of people are just doing their tasks and are anticipating, when am I going to get promoted because I do my job so well. Well, many people do their jobs very well, but that's not necessary to be promoted to the next step. Because of that, it's that extra thing that you're doing on top, and collecting that knowledge, collecting these skills are essentially what's driving you forward and upward. And I really like that you said that the path is not like linear, like you don't go this way, you. And I think many people are actually discouraged. Even I was discouraged in the beginning of my career, because I was expecting the ladder, right, to be that linear. And then I
Yeah,
realized that, oh, if I go sideways and then I collect that knowledge, so I'm bringing something more to the table, so then I can go there. And this is such
exactly.
great advice. But I want to ask you, from starting from the bottom, how do we go with the seat on the table then? How do we earn that?
I don't have the secret sauce of like, yeah, you mix 1, 2, and 3, and you become, you get the seat at the table. It's a lot of, I would say, a lot of hard work. I have a friend, actually, right now, we are probably closest friends, I would say. Um, and I was like, aggravated, new to Canada, and saying, like, I'm not getting the chance. What is this? And then he is currently chief operating officer. And he says, well, you have a line on the chart, right? On the chart Y, you
Mhm.
have a line that is the opportunities. And then you have a line of getting yourself ready, getting yourself be prepared to accept that opportunity with knowledge and so forth. You don't need to know 100% of your next job, right? But you have to know at least 70%. You have to have some foundation. Nobody wants to invest in an empty space with foundations. So he's like, as soon as those touch, they will accept you. There's no other way, right? And this is very interesting because I learned that the hard work that is precisely pressured in the right area will earn you the fastest seat at the table. So let me explain it again. I am known here to be very unusual, right? For example, everybody gets on a call, somebody's working from home at the desk,
Mhm.
somebody's working in the office at the desk. By the way, on the call, I'm talking like, the hierarchy of the highest folks, let's say from the organization, from workforce, vice presidents, SVPs, and so forth. So one person comes up like that, another person comes out from the office. I show up on a bike. I'm biking. Behind me is the sky. I'm biking with a helmet on and I'm talking. Is it a risky move? Sure. If you end up on somebody, yeah, it's a risky move. But am I ready to answer all the questions, and is my job done? Yes, my job is done and I'm ready to answer all the questions. But that way you become unique, because then I say, how do I make, how do I add on top of my job responsibilities a flavor of, let's all be healthy. Let's all spend some time focusing on us, right? While some of my other colleagues that were more of like sitting 15 hours in front of the Excel and punching 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8, and just looking at the demand, the HTO, the forecast is not accurate. I forgot about that piece. And I said, I'm just going to have fun. So I'm going to spend 70 to 80% of my day talking with people, talking with executives, talking with my level of people, like at that time, talking with even lower levels, booking coffee chats with agents, booking coffee chats with team managers. And just I would go on a trail and I would like jog. Hey, how are you? Yeah, okay, tell me about your job. And I would learn and collect and collect and collect knowledge. But you have to know, like, there's a lot of noise and complaints. So you remove the noise, it's the raw thing that you have to do. And then at the end, I would come home or whatever, I'm home. And then I would sit down and punch the numbers. Tick, 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 tick. My job is done. And slowly you sit on the table because you understand how you can maneuver from being in the weeds with the agents. And then in the next meeting, you skyrocket on top with the head of the country and talking on strategy next year or the year after that. But then you take the flavor of the agent, you create a capability, and you roll it into the structure for next year, right? And on the table, you become beneficial. On the table, you're not a complainer anymore that this doesn't work. At the table, you are like, let me solve it for you. I have a strategy. This is your plan as a head of the country. Just gonna, stick a couple of stickers around, right? So earning the seat at the table, you have to be unique. Like, for example, if I say this, I think the person who's gonna hear his name, it's gonna be very surprised. But one of my workforce idols is Doug I can't say the last name, man. Custerton. Custerton? Sorry, Doug. But why is he unique? Because he creates something on WhatsApp, and then we move to Telegram, which is like a worldwide WFM group where we socialize, where we all talk about different things. And I was one of his admins, and we connected. His brain is unbelievable. He doesn't sit at the Excel and just like, 1 plus 1 is 2. But he spends the time bringing value around the area of the workforce world, right? I think it's very important to have that mindset. Sitting at the desk will not earn you another desk. You got to get up from that desk in a metaphorical speaking way.
I would sum it up in this way. First of all, I always advocate for everyone to be their most authentic self, because when you're not, it definitely show. If you're copy pasting someone else's approach, but that's not you, it's not gonna work for you. So I'm always saying, be your most authentic self. And I'm such a big advocate of creating relationships, and I talk about it all the freaking time. And I'm so happy to hear that coming from you, that you're spending that much time creating relationship, because this is how you're also getting the input from people. This is how you understand their issues, or how things can be better, even stuff that we tend to not see if we're working from our little box and we're only seeing what's in front of us. So this is what can separate you from everyone else that's doing exactly that. It's putting yourself there on the battlefield, collecting all of that information and ammunition, and then going and presenting, hey, this is what we can do to solve the challenge. So
Exactly.
thank you so much for this conversation. I really want to wrap it here, because for me, it's so great that you brought that fire and passion and energy. And as I mentioned, I'm getting so many messages like, how can I advance my career? And I'm so happy that you said that basically sky is the limit, right? That there are endless opportunities, and you're bringing that to this conversation. So we just need to continue WhatsApping for our next recording, make it happen now that
For
we know
sure.
it's happening. So thank you so much for this conversation, Nenad. Oh, one last thing. Wait, hold on.
Yeah,
How
what's up? What's up?
tell me, how can people
Sorry?
find how can people find you? Where?
Okay, then I'm not gonna stop here.
Okay.
Um,
There we go.
how can people find me? So when I was in the when I was working when I moved from workforce, actually that time when I moved from like long-term planning over to customer experience, I had to be a lot of the roles were a lot of innovative roles. You have to innovate. You have to find the cost efficiencies, where's the gaps, and so forth. I was reading a lot about like alpha waves, beta waves of dreaming, delta waves when you're sleeping and whatnot. And it says like, uh, you know, you are in a certain state when you're sleeping, but then there is a in between while you're waking up, and then you are totally wake up, right?
Mhm.
So usually we take our phones immediately in the morning and you cut that middle phase, which is the most creative phase that you can extract. I usually what I do is, and it's weird, but I don't care. I do it. It's I wake up, but I don't open my eyes. I think of work. I think of my tasks. I
Oh,
think of, oh, how can I do this, right?
oh,
And it gives you creativity. But very important is whatever you think of that moment, you open your eyes, put it on a paper, document it, because otherwise it flies off. So while I was doing that research, how to get better and better, there was a lot of notes and a lot of researches about social media. So I'm happy to announce that I've been off social media for about 3 years now. No Facebook, no WhatsApp, no Instagram, no TikTok, no scrolling. But I remained on LinkedIn. So if you want to find me, you can find me on LinkedIn at any time. We talk about professional stuff and it doesn't really consume that much amount of time for my creativity. But stay away from social media.
that's a good way to end it. I'll give you shit because I've been inviting you on the podcast for so long, and you being on LinkedIn is kind of relative. So let's see. But thank you so much for this episode,
Thank you.
and stay tuned for part two.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Irina Mateva, founder of Right WFM, where we believe that every business and its people are unique and deserve the right solution to their challenges. If you need support with workforce management, we're just a message away. Get in touch at Irina at rightwfm.com or info at rightwfm.com. If you like the content and would like to support the show, please subscribe to WFM Unfiltered on your favorite podcast platform, leave a review, and follow me on LinkedIn. You can also show some love to our great sponsors. For more information about them, check out the episode notes. This is your place for real WFM, so to suggest guests or topics, get in touch at Irina at rightwfm.com. See ya! Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Irina Mateva, founder of Right WFM, where we believe that every business and its people are unique and deserve the right solution to their challenges. If you need support with workforce management, we're just a message away. Get in touch at Irina at rightwfm.com or info at rightwfm.com. If you like the content and would like to support the show, please subscribe to WFM Unfiltered on your favorite podcast platform, leave a review, and follow me on LinkedIn. You can also show some love to our great sponsors. For more information about them, check out the episode notes. This is your place for real WFM, so to suggest guests or topics, get in touch at Irina at rightwfm.com. See ya!